What is going on, everyone? We are live. Let me know if you can see me. Let me know if you can hear me. Looks to be good on the other end. This time, I messed up in the last mock draft Monday, last live stream. Didn't show you guys the teams. I literally waited all day to see the teams that I was on the clock for, and then I ended the video before that. So I think to start off, we'll go over 3 active drafts I'm in right now. Then we'll start the mock draft or the actual draft with all of you. I'll put the link into the comment section here, and then we'll answer questions. So first up, let's go to this draft. These are all Best Ball Mania drafts. So obviously shooting for upside in these. $3 million to first place. I think $1 million to second, $1 million also to the first place team in the regular season. A lot of prize pools at the top. So here's our build. We got Geno and Joe Burrow. All right, decent combination there. We got Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Miles Sanders, like the running backs, although 2 week 7 buys, and obviously we only have 3 right now, and we're in 12, so we do still need running back. Wide receivers, Kupp, Ayuk, Cooks, Quentin Johnson, Mingo, and then only Evan Ingram at tight end. Good value on Evan Ingram there. So it looks like I have 2 people left in the queue from whenever I was queuing that up. We'll just kind of go position by position. Not looking at quarterback at all. I mean, I've got 2 of them already. There's no way, unless someone was an obscene value, wouldn't be going there. Running back, looks like McKinnon is really the only option. I don't personally love McKinnon this season. I think there's still a chance that they're going to bring in another running back at some point. If we get to the end of the summer and that hasn't happened, I'll be okay with it. But fine at this value. I'm not in love with that as a pick. Don't really love the wide receiver values. I also don't think wide receiver is the weakest part of this team right now. So I don't know that I'm going to go with the wide receiver. So I feel like the 2 that I have left in the queue, which kind of makes sense, are probably the 2 that we should be looking at here. Schultz, Jerick McKinnon. I think I want to go with Schultz. I don't have a phenomenal feeling about... Oh, let's look at the bye weeks, though. All right, bye weeks are good. We'll just close off tight end there. Again, I don't feel amazing about the Jerick McKinnon this season. I just don't want to be getting a lot of him. I think they're going to either bring someone else in, expand Pacheco's role. I don't see the upside in McKinnon. Next one, we got a Trevor Lawrence Dak. I've been getting that combination a lot. Trevor Lawrence falls a decent amount. I never take him ahead of ADP, but he falls sometimes into the late 60s. So getting him a lot. Dak falls a lot. You see in this one, he fell around. So we've got Lawrence and Dak. We got Saquon, Madison, Tank Bigsby. So we're in the 16th round. Only have 3 running backs. That's fine because you can end up with 4 or 5. But I would say this build probably wants 5 running backs. So that's 16, 17, 18. We have 3 rounds left to get 2 running backs and then 1 other position. So we're looking running back. Got a plethora of wide receivers. Looks like pretty good value too. Good value on Moore, Dobbs, Reed. So nice. Good job on us there. And this was one of the double ones I messed up with. We got Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson. You actually don't, I was thinking about this the other day. You don't necessarily need to fix that. You're going to take a 0 in week 13, but let's be honest, this is a pretty long season. You're accruing points over the whole season. There's going to be weeks where your opponents score 4 points at tight end. And so for you to take a 0, if someone else scores 4, are you really losing out on that much? Is it worth taking that extra tight end when you've already spent so much draft capital? Maybe not. So I might just leave this, take the 0 in that week. We'll maybe make up for it in other weeks. If there's a good value, I definitely don't want to take it with this pick. If there's a really good value at tight end in the last round, maybe I'll do it. But I don't think I'm going to. Running back is obviously the one that we really want here, but it's really just Chuba, and I have Chuba projected pretty well ahead of ADP. It's difficult for me to not do Miles Sanders and Chuba ahead of ADP. They're both kind of going pretty far back. I think people are anticipating maybe another running back gets added to the mix. But if that doesn't happen, 16th round for Chuba. Listen, if he can score a few touchdowns this season, if he can just be productive in a few weeks, we'll be fine. So let's take Chuba. I think that's the best pick. Looks like I queued up Stafford, probably because he was a really good value, but I already have the 2 quarterbacks. Taking a 3rd quarterback there probably isn't what this team needs. This team needs extra running backs. We've waited for that for a while, and I did have a stack. If I had taken, Kupp in the 1st round, maybe we go there. So one more, and then we'll post the link to everyone who can join into the draft. We have 20 likes. That's actually 110 total viewers at any point. That's actually a pretty good like ratio, but let's get the like ratio up a little bit higher, and also fire the questions away so I can answer questions during the draft here. Looks like we have an easy one here, though. First pick, first round, don't be too cute. Just take the top player available. We'll take Adams. Maybe we'll be able to stack it with like A.J. Brown there. Again, nice little 2 wide receivers. But honestly, the next pick's going to be good. We're either going to get Brown, Barkley, or Jonathan Taylor. So liking the start to this one. All right, let's find NFL. 12-person, $3 draft, fast. We don't want the slow ones. Create this. Share the link. And I will post it in the chat. If we don't fill relatively quickly, then I'll post it out on Twitter. We got to like 9 or 10 last time, but obviously we want you guys to have a first crack at everything. So we will be doing a normal format, full PPR. For the Tuesday videos, probably not, although I'll say I will be in some different states at different points of the summer, some of which I know do not allow you to play on Underdog, in which case, if I have time during then to do the Tuesday videos, they will be normal because I won't be allowed to do Underdog. So depends, but for the most part, these are going to be Underdog videos. They're going to be videos that are like sponsored by Underdog. I want to be promoting Underdog. And plus, every Monday is the mock draft Monday. So you've got the normal drafts on Monday, the Underdog drafts on Tuesday, strategy videos Wednesday. There's a structure to everything. Oh, nice. We filled with everyone that's in here. So everyone's actually watching this. Yeah, there's structure to everything. I don't know if everyone like notices. Like the Wednesday video, so that's going to be dropping tomorrow. That's going to be league-winning quarterbacks. Like when do championship teams draft quarterback? It's always going to be a strategy-based video on Wednesday. The player breakdowns on Thursday. Some sort of top 5 type video, like running backs I like, tight ends I like, early, late, stuff like that. On Friday, we go over ADPs on Saturday. Sunday's the Underdog strategy. And then again, Monday, mock draft Monday. So there's a structure to all the content. Tuesdays are going to be Underdog based. And also, if you guys watch the Sunday video, you know we have that new promotion. I'm probably going to change the graphic on the screen to like highlight it. But if you sign up for Underdog using promo code FFA, it's the same thing where they're going to double your deposit up to $100. So if you put in $75, let's say, they'll make it $150. They'll just double up to $100. But also, now you're going to get access to my rankings. So if you sign up with the promo code, you get free access to my rankings for Underdog, my strategy articles, and then also the app that I've been working on that helps you draft optimally. So you're getting all that content. If you signed up using promo code FFA before this Sunday, email support and I'll try and like help you out there. It had to be this year, so it's probably not a ton of you, but if that happened, email support. Everyone from Sunday on is going to be kept there. Like I'm gonna have your email. I'm gonna set you up with the account. So again, like I said a few seconds ago, first round, don't get cute. Pretty much just go with rankings unless there's something that you don't like maybe you just don't love drafting Travis Kelce in round 1. That's honestly like a big one for a lot of people is what to do with Kelce. And I would just say, given the drafts you've been in on Underdog, given the drafts you've been in redraft, whatever you're drafting in, if you're not comfortable taking Travis Kelce, just don't do it. If he's a top player in your rankings, you just don't like it, don't do it. But for everyone else, you can pretty much just look at the rankings, take the top player. It'll depend if you like hate going hero RB, you hate taking running backs early, you really want wide receiver, you can reach, 1 or 2 spots. That's totally fine. But for the most part, whatever rankings you're using, whether it's mine or someone else's, you can probably just go with the rankings for round 1. Then strategy starts adjusting everywhere else. We will pull up the draft board because you all like that. Very wide receiver heavy. Jefferson, Chase, Hill, me taking McCaffrey. I want to do a hero RB build. As I've said a few times, hero RB grades out as a very, very good strategy. It's not necessarily always the best thing to do. And if McCaffrey gets hurt, it's going to be rough for the season. Whenever you have an opportunity to do a hero RB build with McCaffrey, Bijan, Eckler, these like really high-end running backs, I like at least trying it. Does that mean I won't take a running back in round 2? Absolutely not. If there's a good one available, I will do it. but the lean at least is Hero RB. So we went over a few other teams. We have started our draft here. Let's see if we can answer some questions. Best spot for drafting tight ends and quarterbacks this year. Didn't specify if it's underdog or redraft, so I will answer both. For underdog, it typically is, honestly, like, teams grade out really well when you have two quarterbacks by round 9. You don't necessarily need to take them in rounds, 2, 3, even 4, but just having, 2 by round 9 is like a pretty good strategy. Typically too late doesn't grade out super well, and 2 is usually optimal. For redraft in quarterback, usually, like, let's say you have like a 5-player bench, you're only taking 1 total, and literally I have a video tomorrow talking about this, so way more in-depth take there. You probably want a top 8 quarterback this season, which probably means you're spending a top 6 round pick. It doesn't mean you need to, but that like 3rd through 6th round just is a really good range to be attacking these quarterbacks. That's what I would suggest doing. For tight end, there's really no rule. I do like when I can get a really good value on Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, Pitts. Those are probably like the 3 higher end ones, but it really just is for tight end. Wait for the best value. When you get someone, you're like, yes, it's a 1-round value here. Pounce on that. I really just wouldn't reach for any tight end this season. Looks like we got a nice little Kelsey Mahomes stack. That's a nice one right there. Theoretically, like a few spot reach on Mahomes, but whenever you can get a Kelsey Mahomes stack, that's a great start. Nobody has started off with 2 running backs. Let's see what is on the board for us. At running back, it is only Chubb. It would be a slight value. Then it would be Tony Pollard. For wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, which I think, again, we were leaning Hero RB, so we're probably going to end up doing that. Yeah, I think we would just go with Waddle, and especially Waddle, just being someone who's a really, really good play in a format like this where it's best ball, they're setting your starting lineup, we're going to capture every single spike. Now in redraft, you're also going to do that, right? You're obviously not really benching Jalen Waddle unless we get multiple injuries at quarterback, although they have Mike White now, so maybe hopefully if Tua gets hurt, the backup can do something there. But you're starting him anyway, so you also are capturing that spike. But it's very important in a format like Underdog to get these high ceiling players, especially if we're going to go with this build for Hero RB. We're taking a ton of these guys. We want wide receiver to be dominant, because if we can get a bunch of like high ceiling players at wide receiver, and every week we're starting 4 wide receivers, plus we have McCaffrey, that running back 2 spot, we don't really care that much about it. We're not asking too much from it, which is good because we're not going to spend much draft capital at it. So again, not locked in, but that's what we're thinking with this build. Jalen Hurts, Jacobs. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of lower than the public on Metcalf, and so if he's the top wide receiver in the rankings, it's not a bad pick. But that's kind of what I'm looking at there. I guess I don't need to put up Mark Andrews because no one took him. Top player available as far as the rankings is Jalen Hurts. We're at 28. Hurts is usually not available here, and I believe he's my top ranked quarterback. So I think the move, and this is still a Hero RB build, I think the move has to be just take Hurts. Hopefully we can get a stack. The problem with Hurts is, his 2 biggest stacking partners are already gone basically when you get to him, like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. One interesting thing is we could go with Rashad Penny, who's also a very good Hero RB build. I'll pull this back up so no one yells at me. We could go with Penny with a stacking partner. We can definitely go with Dallas Goedert as a stacking partner. So those are 2. DeAndre Swift, who we're lower than ADP on, so usually I don't get him. But those 3 are probably like the best moves for how we can complete the stack. But also, it's good for this in that we don't necessarily need it. Like, he could easily like get us into the playoffs. Let's say, in those playoff weeks, he could have 2 rushing touchdowns. And at that point, he can still have a really, really good game, 70 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, get to like 30 points without necessarily having a nuke dropped from A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So you don't necessarily need to stack, although it's pretty much always optimal to do so. All right, questions. Is Derek Carr worth a first in Dynasty Superflex anymore. I don't know that he ever was a first round pick in like a startup. No, I don't know that he ever was, but he definitely is not anymore. Kareem Hunt should definitely get a spot, I'd think. Unsure how prominent of a role, though. Oh, yeah. Kareem Hunt's definitely going to be signed somewhere. Definitely possible it takes a while. And honestly, if I'm Zeke, Fournette, Hunt, I'm waiting right now. You are aging players. You have been very much inefficient the last few years. Let your body rest. Don't go through a full camp. Like, obviously, they're going to work out, but, like, don't take too many hits and just see what happens. Like, there's plenty of opportunity for running backs to, very unfortunately, get injured in August, especially when, you know, you're exiting camp, we're getting into the preseason. Plenty of opportunities for that to happen. And so if that does, well, that's just opening up a spot for where you can sign. But if you sign right now, what's the good landing spot? Is there a single good landing spot if you are Kareem Hunt and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to have an awesome role here? No. But what if we see a very significant injury on a very good team and a team gets a little bit desperate to add someone? Now the price goes up and, you know, you're a little bit more likely to be healthy because you've been working on your own. You haven't taken as many hits. So I would expect them to sign later. I would expect all of them to sign with someone. Thoughts on Jimmy G failing his physical? I think it's going to get a little bit overblown personally. He just needs to pass it like at some point. He had the procedure to fix something that wasn't healing. I mean, I would imagine he's going to end up being fine. But I also don't think it's not like the end of the world. I mean, there are options that the Raiders do have. I talked about this actually in the Thursday video. There are options they have, whether it's on free agency or maybe trading for some backups. I think one situation I brought up was Washington. Whoever wins the job between Brissett and Sam Howell, maybe the backup is someone that you can end up trading for. But it would be gross for the Raiders. But yeah, I think they just kind of built that in to like be safe, just to make sure the team doesn't like, you know, get screwed over a little bit too much. But I wouldn't worry about it really too much. I think people are going to really overreact and just like crater all of the ADPs of those players, and they probably shouldn't. All right. We are almost on the clock. We're going to have like a mini turn here. I'm thinking we go wide receiver with this pick. Hawkinson would be an option for us. But if we're leaning a little bit towards Goddard here near that 68 spot, what's our pick? We're going to have 69, so it's going to be close. Hopefully we can get Goddard with that pick. We will see. But I don't think reaching on Hawkinson here makes a whole lot of sense. Again, we want these ceiling wide receivers. I mean, Mike Williams obviously is a ceiling wide receiver. I shouldn't need to tell that to anyone. Very high offense, very low weekly floor, but same with Waddle. You know, Waddle's going to have some monster games. Williams will have some monster games. We'll just cycle them together. If you want to go Keenan Allen there for the safety, I get it. I think it makes sense. So we're going with Mike Williams there. Honestly, in a redraft league, though, I'd probably go with Keenan Allen over Williams. I don't 100% know what the rankings are, but I'm pretty sure Keenan Allen is ahead. But because the Underdog rankings have a built-in ceiling bonus, basically, Williams goes ahead. At our next pick, 52, we can consider going with Aaron Jones. He'll be among the top players. I really like, as you all know, Chris Godwin. I am comfortable taking him a little bit ahead of ADP. So maybe my lean is there since, again, we're trying to lean towards this QRB build. I would have gone with Hawkinson probably if he had been available at the next pick. He ends up not being. ADP value-wise, DJ Moore is a nice value. The thing is, even straight up, I mean, I prefer Godwin, and we're not going to get both, so there's really no reason to play the ADP game. So it would really just be, do we want Aaron Jones or Godwin? And I think if we'd gotten a little bit better value on Aaron Jones, we'd have broken the Hero RB build, but let's just keep going after these wide receivers. Let's build up a really strong wide receiver core to go with McCaffrey, and then we're going to close off. I'm not sure if I want to do 4 or 5 running backs. It really depends on when the second one comes in. But that's the general plan right now. Keep loading up. Hopefully we get Goddard at 69, but we shall see. If we don't, not the end of the world with Target. I don't think Penny or Swift to come off the board yet. You're picking 7 in a half PPR league with 2 flex spots. What's your instinct with your first round pick, and where would you take your non-flex positions? What does that mean? Sam Lee, could you clarify your question a little bit? You're picking 7th in a half PPR league with 2 flexes. Beautiful. Basically, okay, so what do we think we're going with the first pick? So adding 2 flex spots devalues tight end and it devalues quarterback, right? Because very unlikely you're starting a tight end in that, and it's not a super flex league. So in those 2 flex spots, you're probably starting running backs and wide receivers. So the percent of your starting lineup's points that quarterback and tight end make up has now decreased. There's now 2 more spots that go to running back and wide receiver. So their value goes up. So I would lean away from Kelsey, I guess, is the first thing I would say there. He's going to grade out well, but if you use like the custom rankings on the website and you go in and you set 2 flex spots, it is going to bring down Kelsey. And my guess is he would go more towards a late first round pick. Maybe it wouldn't be too much, but my instinct would be to lean towards running back and wide receiver. It is easier at times to really start hitting on a ton of wide receivers, getting them right in the middle rounds. And so if there's ever a lean towards one of them, it's wide receiver. But I really, first round, go with the rankings. Whoever the top player is at that spot, do it. But I would lean running back and wide receiver. And just same thing I honestly said before with, this man right here just ended our lives taking Goddard there. Same thing I said before, though, with tight end, just wait for the best value at tight end. All right. We like Addison. We like Evans. We're going to get one of them. Tight end's not a value anymore. We're not going to go after that. If we just take a gander for Swift, it looks like Penny's probably off the board already. Oh, no, Penny's way down at 114. Okay, so we have time for that one. Swift's ADP is 72. I just don't want to reach for Swift. What's this little not practice? We don't care about like practice stuff right now. My gut is telling me go with Evans because we have an out. We have Evans Godwin. We can go with a Tampa Bay stack. And weirdly, did I do a Tampa Bay stack in a previous live stream? And it's surprising me because if we look through my exposure on Best Ball Mania, the drafts I've been doing, I don't believe I have a single stack from Tampa Bay. So it's kind of weird that it maybe has happened in back-to-back weeks. But again, I have been taking Godwin. I've been taking Evans plenty. It's just I usually take one of them. But I don't know. I feel like I could have taken Addison and gone with Kirk Cousins. I just feel like people take Kirk Cousins. Where is he going? 103. Yeah. Kirk Cousins is like never the top quarterback when I've been doing these. Maybe I need to be a little bit higher on him, but he's almost never the top quarterback. So, but I'm pretty sure I can take one of the Tampa Bay quarterbacks. Okay, we're going to be at 76. We can definitely consider running back here. God, it's probably too early for Montgomery, but there's 2. Brandon Cooks, it's too early to do that, I think. Waller, we're not going with them. Okay, here's the thing. It's probably too early to take Montgomery, but I want to do it. Yeah, let's do it. I have, and it's like every single time I look at like the updated ADPs, like he pretty much just stays in the exact same spot. Maybe he's risen actually a little bit. I think he was actually at like 89 a little while ago, but he pretty much is always at the same spot. And I'm always like 20 spots ahead of ADP on David Montgomery. And so it's like, every week I go in there and I'm like, all right, fine. I'll take away like 0.5% of his like rushing volume. I'll take a little bit of the receiving volume. I can't give it to Gibbs because I'm ahead of ADP on Gibbs. So I keep giving it to these like absolute scrub backups and like not ever turning them into good picks, but I'm giving them way more workload than they probably should get. Maybe I need to be a little bit lower on the Denver offense, but they're a good offense. It is the number 1 backfield last season for fantasy production at running back, and they upgraded both of their running backs last season, like Gibbs is better than Swift and Montgomery is better than Jamal Williams. Like both running backs are now better, and it was already the highest producing backfield in all of fantasy. So I'm thinking a lot of fantasy points are going to come from the Detroit backfield, and yet no one wants to draft Dave Montgomery. I get it. Gibbs is going to be used plenty. You cannot tell me that Montgomery's not going to also be used a lot, going to have high touchdown potential. Like I don't know. I guess I'm on an island, but like I really like Montgomery where he's going here. 7th round. Yeah, give me Montgomery. I mean, the backup last season just had like 1 billion touchdowns. So here's how we're looking. Maybe, now that I think of it, we should have gone with DeAndre Swift at that spot to get the stack. But again, personally, I prefer Penny. We will see. What was he at? He was at like a 114. Next one's at 93. Then we have 100. We have 117. Whenever I'm doing stacks, I very much prefer to get at value. Now, I know that this is only a 12-team league, but my mindset is always I'm drafting for tournaments because that's what most of you are going to play. Someone's going to get it at value. Someone is going to draft both Jalen Hurts at a value pick and get Penny at 117, 124. Someone is probably going to get Jalen Hurts and then Penny at 141. And so for you to reach at 93, you are guaranteeing that someone out there has a better stack than you. So why do a stack if someone else has a better stack? Make your stacks make sense. Someone actually asked in the comment section if I can do a simulation project around stacking and saying how much like should you reach to make it optimal. It's a great question. It's a great idea. It's obviously not something I can do this season. I'm working right now on getting the code a little bit more efficient, hopefully running through a few more builds. But I would love to do a project like that next off season, being like, is it worth reaching 5 spots to get a wide receiver stack, or should you just go with someone else? But we will see. Can't do it this year though. Would you consider Jamar Chase at 101 in a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, full PPR keeper league? Jefferson's kept, and you're keeping Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, I probably would take him at 101. I think I have Chase ranked 2nd. You've got McCaffrey. If Jefferson's gone, yeah, absolutely. You can start 5 wide receivers, full PPR, and you already have McCaffrey. You're absolutely hammering the wide receiver position. Like, you are absolutely going hero RB if you already have that. Okay, we're almost on the clock. Michael Thomas might be the only wide receiver I'd consider here. Evan Ingram, a solid value right now. I would not go with any of these running backs. We're getting a little bit of value in Deshaun Watson. I rarely draft him. Where are the stacking partners? I think they're already all gone is my issue. I would rather go with Michael Thomas here. Again, we have this Evans-Godwin duo. So starting a stack with Watson, not having the ability, because I mean, I'm pretty sure Elijah Moore is off the board, and obviously Amari Cooper's off the board. I would pretty much have to take Njoku, which wouldn't have been a bad pick at 100, getting that stack in there. But I don't know. It feels like I'd have to do that, because if I didn't, I'd have to go with Tillman in the last round, maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones, but probably Cedric Tillman, and I don't love that. Now, if Watson were available at this pick, I might do it. Again, I don't really care too much because I'm totally fine taking that second quarterback very, very late and just relying on Jalen Hurts every week. And it probably is a sharp move to do, so I might not even take Watson. Okay. Well, they made my decision for me. I probably wouldn't have taken him because I think I can get quarterback pretty late. We have gotten to a range where I don't love the wide receivers. And Njoku's honestly not even just a bad pick to take as a solo tight end right now, because there's a pretty distinct drop-off after Njoku. We also could have considered two, I guess, at that pick. Who would be better for our build here? We don't have a tight end yet. It is typically nice to have one before the 9th round. part of me thinks get the upside of Kamara, though. Yeah. You know what else I'm thinking? We've got another opportunity. So now we have 2 chances at the stack. We can take, because Derek Carr has obviously not been drafted, right? Yeah. We can take Derek Carr to stack with both Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, or we can go with our favorite Tampa Bay tight end, or Tampa Bay quarterback, basically, with Goddard and Evans, both of which will be available late. So we can also take chances with both of those players and just be like, whichever one becomes the better value. We won't know, obviously, like Derek Carr's gonna go first, but if we get like sniped on him or something, we have a backup plan. If we like the value in him, it's also a very, very good stack to have. I didn't check the bye week for either of them, but it looks like it all works out, so that's good. I like the build so far. I'll pull up the board in a second, but we went hero RB, we've got McCaffrey, and then we've got 2 players who we don't need to rely on that position like all that much, but 2 players I feel good about just like getting us some points. I know Alvin Kamara is definitely going to have lower upside this season, but he's still Alvin Kamara. Like, he'd still have a very, very good season. Obviously love our quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And then we're going with very high upside, very like secure wide receivers. Michael Thomas, obviously the riskiest, but it's our 5th wide receiver. Like, we're going to be entering the 10th round here. Everyone's risky at this point. Like, it probably once you exit like the 8th round, honestly, starting the 9th round, everyone's risky. Looks like Penny does come off the board. Perhaps now, I was gonna say perhaps we should have gone there, but if his ADP is 114, we're taking him at 100. Well, we don't need to reach over a round to get someone like that. All right. There we are in our questions. Thoughts on going JJ, Josh Allen, and Hurts at 101, Siller OP. So yeah, you'd have 2 elite quarterbacks. I'm not against it, but if Jefferson is going to dominate at the 101, don't you think that Kirk Cousins is having like a really, really good season? So it's like Allen, Hurts can do really well, but I feel like the more dominant strategy would be, could you get Stephon Diggs, maybe, I guess, because to do that, you'd probably have to get it here, but I don't know. I think I would rather try and see if you can get extreme value with one of Hurts or Allen to pair with, whether it's Diggs, whether it's AJ Brown, whether it's Devonta Smith, and that's how you end up with your duo. Like, typically when you get these builds that are like super unique, right? Because that's a very unique build. You want to have gotten it at a value. You don't want it to be like a reach. And I know it's not a reach. It's like 2 spots of value, but I would want it to be like, people look at your team and like, how did that happen? Someone's not going to look at your team and be like, oh yeah, late 2nd, early 3rd, you got 2 quarterbacks. But if you ended up getting them in like, significantly later ADP, pairing both of them, it's like, whoa, not many people are going to be able to do that. And so it's very, very unique, and it came at significant value. I don't know. I don't think you should do that. But if you want to test out a build and see how it works, go for it. I highly doubt it works out more often than it doesn't. I think it doesn't work out more often. Check out the wide receivers. That's like our first stop in a build like this, especially because we now have 3. Like, we don't need to look at running back at all. I'll take a gander if someone was a huge value, but no one is, so we don't need to consider running back right now. Allen Lazard's a good pick, a good high upside pick. He now comes off the board. Wouldn't say there are very many other good picks at wide receiver. I think Jacoby Myers is probably my favorite. I don't want any of those. And I don't want any of those. So we're taking our top wide receiver. Put those away. Yeah, I guess it'd be Myers. Is there anyone else that's kind of fallen? No. I have definitely gotten a lot of Jacoby Myers, and I'm definitely like, ahead of ADP on him. And that's being pretty conservative with his projection. I still don't know what's going to happen with Hunter Renfrow, whether he's going to be traded away or something. But, they paid a good amount of money to Myers. If 7 games this season, plenty of good game scripts there. Does something happen where Adams wants out, a team actually does want to trade for him and pay him his huge contract? Maybe. I don't think that happens, but it's like there are still outs to where Jacoby Myers shatters this ADP. He's a very good player as well. I don't know. in this range, I feel like I've just been landing on him a lot because it's like you got a super low volume team for Chicago. You've got Zay Jones. I mean, what, the third wide receiver, fourth or fifth option on a good team, but fourth or fifth option on a team. Gallup, I think, is a good pick, but we can usually get him significantly later. Thielen, again, decent pick, but we can usually get him significantly later. So it's like not a ton of like amazing picks in that range. I feel like I just land on Myers a lot. Okay, with 20 seconds. I definitely don't like a lot of the players on the board right now. I just poo-pooed Zay Jones, but we might end up going with him. I feel like Gallup's a better pick, but oh no, Mingo's probably a better pick. Can we get him? All right, that was probably a better pick just for upside. Again, Zay Jones projects fine. The upside Zay Jones brings is minimal. Like there's not very many chances. He obviously needs an injury to Kirk or to Ridley to like really break out. Like for him to produce like last season, like he needs those things to happen. I don't know. I'm gonna take him off the board because he's like probably not gonna be their next pick. But for Mingo, it's like, you know, maybe second half of the season, if they're really using him like a team would use Deebo Samuel, again, his number one comp in my athletic model. If they're using him like that, he could absolutely have a few really good weeks. Not expecting him to be awesome, but you know, what if Bryce Young ends up being like a really, really good quarterback? And what if Adam Thielen's kind of cooked, right? Like he might actually be. So it might get a wide receiver one on the team pretty late. So just more upside. Like if you average it out, I bet you they average like pretty similar points, but I like the upside a little bit more on Mingo. Would you be able to configure your data projection model to work with auction leagues instead of Underdog to determine optimal budget? Essentially, you'd replace the roster build variable with how much money is spent on the position. I mean, it would be a completely separate model. It would not be. I know you guys don't have like the back end of the model. It would be completely separate. You have to build something out. I could maybe work on a model for auction leagues like next off season. There was actually someone who built a pretty cool tool that they wanted to like sell to me to like give to you guys. Maybe I'll reach back out on as far as that's concerned, but it wasn't dealing with optimal. It was really more just like helping walk you guys through drafts and like, you know, setting different variables for like inflation in the draft, setting different variables for budgeting, but you'd still have to set all the budgeting stuff. But yeah, you can't really configure the model to do that. It looks like we do have a super chat. I don't actually even know how to like find those, to be completely honest with you, but I just clicked a button and this thing popped up. So we will try and answer that question. I want to make sure I still keep the board up so that we can actually do this thing. All right. Keeper League. You've got Jay Jetta, obviously, round 11. Awesome. You're the fifth pick, 3 wide receiver league. Would you go with Robinson, AJ Brown, Kelsey, Taylor, or Adams? It's a keeper league, so we'll keep that in mind with Bijan there. It's 3 wide receivers. Okay. I'll answer that question after we get to this one over here. My gut is telling me, because it's a keeper league, I guess given how you said it, you actually probably get where you drafted them, I would assume. And so Bijan being a keeper there probably doesn't actually matter that much because you'd have to keep him the first round value. That wouldn't be like a huge value. So I probably wouldn't consider that part of it. But I would still keep him over Taylor and over Adams. So it really does come down to Bijan, AJ Brown, and Kelsey is who it would definitely come down to. But we'll answer the rest of that question after our pick. Probably worth us going with Derek Carr. He becomes the top player available very soon. We'll see if we get sniped one spot away again. And there he goes. So that's rather unfortunate. Warren's not a bad pick if we want to go running back. We probably don't need running back yet. We can go a little bit later. Mims, probably still a little bit too early, even though he's our boy. Hyatt for some upside. I don't love any of that. We're like 2 seconds away from getting autoed. Yeah, I guess Warren would be the best pick. I didn't get to quarterback here. No. I guess we're going with Baker. It would definitely be nice to know who's going to win the Tampa Bay situation, because if we pick Baker and it ends up being Trask, we're a little bit screwed with how things are going to work out. Also, we do want to end up with Baker in this build. I think we'll be able to. I mean, his ADP's 213. We have a pick at 213. We can pretty easily just take him at 196, though. Lock him in, because the difference between 17th and 18th round picks for all those positions, minimal. There's really not that much difference. So yeah, why don't we plan on taking Baker in the 17th round? If we don't end up with him, it'll be unfortunate. Maybe we would just go with Trask and hope that part of the equation kind of takes shape. But I don't know. We'll see if we end up getting to that spot. Very unfortunate not getting Derek Carr at that pick. Okay. I don't want to go with running back, so we'll definitely go with wide receiver with this pick. I guess we can go with Hyatt. High weekly upside. I still don't believe in the talent. If we're being honest, I don't know that it's going to come through. But when it comes through, it's going to come in deep touchdowns, and that is exactly what we're looking for in this build. I've wanted, relatively boom bust players. I don't see anyone else that makes sense from a stack perspective. Yeah, we'll go with Hyatt. All right, not too bad. I guess the Warren pick was probably a little bit of a panic because we didn't have enough time. I guess we didn't really need to do that, but if we're being completely honest, I would have taken Hyatt. So it probably worked out for us that we didn't have enough time to do that. But really got thrown off because we really wanted that Derek Carr pick there. So there's the draft board. To answer the rest of the question. So again, this man is in a keeper league. He's got Jefferson in the 11th round, which is one of the best keepers you can possibly have. He's at the 5th pick, or he'll be at the 5th pick, whatever. 3 wide receivers was throwing me off here. If it wasn't 3 wide receiver, there's no way I would go with A.J. Brown over Bijan. No way I'd go with him over Travis Kelce. I don't think being in the keeper league is impacting your decision of being like, oh, Kelsey's old. It's the first round pick. You're probably not using him as a keeper. Let's be honest, you're using Jefferson as a keeper again if you're allowed to. That's tough. Because it's 3 wide receiver, my gut is telling me go with A.J. Brown. Because he's obviously, he's set up to have a really, really good season. You can start, I'm assuming, 4 wide receivers if you have a flex spot. I would probably go with A.J. Brown at that 5 spot. And if he happens to not be there, Bijan, I think, would be my pick. But that's tough. Bijan or A.J. Brown, whichever one you like between those two. Because 3 wide receiver, again, I might do that. Maybe I'll pull up. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have 3 wide receiver rankings available. But maybe go into that. Go into the custom rankings and see that. But yeah, I think I'd go with A.J. Brown, but maybe Bijan. All right. Other questions. You bet $1,000 Tua gets another concussion and his availability to his career will be severely compromised. I mean, it's a tough thing to bet. Also an unfortunate thing to bet because you'd be rooting for it. But yeah, he's definitely risky. It's nice that they have Mike White now for like the players on that team, because obviously that's better than what they had last season. But if you're going with a stack on Underdog, you're basically, let's be honest, you're cooked if Tua goes out and you're expecting to like bink these tournaments. And so if you want to do the stat, you just have to kind of assume he's healthy. There's no reason to like be like, oh, well, what if it happens? It's like, well, there's plenty of other leagues where you didn't draft Tua, and so those leagues will still be fine. But you kind of have to just assume if you're taking Hill, you're taking Waddle very high, that Tua stays healthy. You play in a league with 3 wide receivers, 2 flex. To what extent do the rankings change me able to start like a lot? The rankings change a lot. Again, I have the custom rankings sheet that you can like download if you have access to the site, and you can punch that in and it'll tell you. But I like a lot. Like you should really, really be leaning towards wide receiver very heavy. Like if you wanted to start off with 4 wide receivers, that is absolutely fine to do. You can start 5 every week. You should start 5 every week. Now you have 5 players with bye weeks, 5 players with injuries. Like you should have like 7 wide receivers you feel awesome about. We have 8 wide receivers and we have no tight ends. So the lean here, do we just take all of the, oh, this guy's got Carr. He's definitely going Juwan Johnson with this pick. But if he doesn't, we'll take him. Would we go with Dawson Knox when he takes Juwan? Ooh, I might just go 3 tight ends very late. I don't know. I wouldn't take Dawson. I'd probably go 3 tight ends super late. So what would I do with this pick? Gosh. It's getting gross out there. He didn't go with Juwan? Did he even have a stacking partner with Carr? You don't even have a stacking partner. Why'd you take him from me? All right, well, we're going to go with Juwan. And we're just going to be like, hey, I'm stacking the Saints. I don't care that they don't have the quarterback. Some weeks it'll be Thomas. Some weeks it'll be Juwan. Some weeks it'll be Kamara. They're going to score touchdowns this season. I'm going to have them. And I actually didn't spend too high draft picks on any of them, so that's not even a bad strategy. But yeah, lean might still be going with 3 tight ends late. Considering Dawson, I really think people are just like tanking Dawson Knox way too much just because obviously they drafted Dalton Kincaid. But like, I don't know. He's still a rookie, and they're still going to run 2 tight end sets. I personally think people are tanking him too much. Now, he is not one of the top players. At this point, you don't really care about the overall rankings. It's really more about your like position on your team. And like, I do need touchdown scores. Juwan Johnson, great touchdown score. Knox, good touchdown score. So that's the lean, I think, right now. I could do one more running back, but like, there's always opportunities in the last round for running back. So I might go like with a round 18 running back. Algier is kind of standing out here, though. I have Algier tanked in the rankings. He's now the top player available besides Curtis Samuel. That's probably the better move. It's got to be the better move, right? 20 spots of value. Yeah, you got to take that. Because if Bijan gets hurt, or even in weeks where like they're getting crushed or they're crushing, like there's opportunities where like Algier can have a few good games. What I was saying before is in the 18th round, there's always opportunities for running backs. Pull it up. Chris Rodriguez is always there. Sometimes Kareem Hunt is there. Deuce Vaughn is always there. If you think Gus Edwards just like consistently gets you an okay amount of points, and in the 18th round, you want to take that like 8-9 points every week or something like that, go for that. But there's always someone, if you want to shoot for the upside of Israel, which is a little note. Some players have this and then they don't have the note. But like, there's always someone. And so you can always keep one option available in that last round. Having said that, getting 20 spots of value at that running back pick, I think, was the sharpest thing to do. Our boy Jerome Ford is skyrocketing in AP. Kind of unfortunate, but yeah, Jerome Ford remains a good pick. I think I have him ranked at like 160 or something like that. But even then, I still had Algier ranked ahead because they're going to run the ball a ton. Like, even if you give Bijan, 20 plus carries a game, Algier is still mixing in there. He'll score some touchdowns. Will be okay this season. So we're definitely done at running back. We've got McCaffrey, Montgomery, Kamara, Warren, Algier. We're done there. We said that we were going to spend our 17th round pick on Baker. So we have the 189, the 17th rounder. We will need absolutely, obviously. We messed up last week and we did 1 tight end. Do not draft 1 tight end. I just wasn't paying attention to that. You got to draft at least 2. Given how late we were, our lean might be towards drafting 3. And so if we need a quarterback and 2 tight ends here, that means we're done with the skill positions. We have 8 wide receivers. Are we comfortable with these wide receivers? Waddle, Williams, Godwin, Evans, Thomas, Myers, Mingo, Hyatt. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable. We got 2 rookies in there for some late upside later in the season. Myers, a consistent option. Michael Thomas from some upside. Whoever happens to score between Godwin and Evans, you can never predict the Godwins and Evans game, but we don't have to because this is on Underdog. Mike Williams upside. Okay. I think we're good at those spots. I think the plan should be 2 tight ends, Baker. Let's pull up here. Because I'm guessing Baker wins the job. That's at least my guess right now. Definitely possible we make it later into the summer and it's like, Trask is like better. But I have to think Baker wins this job. So Definitely risky, but we'll see. All right. Tight ends we want. I don't believe... So we're basically just not stacking Jalen Hurts again. That's fine because of his mobility. No one screams good pick. Not a terrible option going with Mayer. He's becoming an okay value. I hate taking rookie tight ends, but if we're taking 3, it's more okay to take a rookie. I feel like I want to go with Conklin. Howell over Baker, but there's no stack is the problem. I very much would like to stack the quarterback. Would there be a tight end? Because I'm fine taking Howell like late when you took Dotson, when you took like McLaurin, if you like the running backs. I don't, but if you liked them. But you'd be taking like Logan Thomas, and I don't know, that's kind of gross. I mean, I've got Godwin and Evans. Like, shouldn't I do that? Honestly, might just take Baker here because I feel someone's gonna like screw me, and I genuinely couldn't care less which tight end we end up with. So let's just take Baker. I know it's not a good value, but again, I could not care less which 2 tight ends we end up with. But I definitely want, Logan Thomas. Nah, I don't know, man. Logan Thomas, there's no way he has any sort of ceiling. I'd at least like something for the ceiling here. McBride has some level of ceiling, if he can completely take over. Noah Fant, that one's tough because I'm convinced there is no way they don't run more 3 wide receiver sets. I know they've talked plenty about how much they like 2 tight end sets. Jackson Smith and Jigba is so much better than putting a second tight end on the board there. And even last season, like, it's not like Noah Fant was that good. So probably not going with that one. Hunter Henry, gosh, I mean, the New England offense is an absolute joke. I don't really want to be attached to that, but here we are. The move is probably to just take Mayer, take McBride at the pick after that. That's probably what we'd want. Honestly, we could just take Cade Otton and we just go all in on Tampa Bay. It's not a terrible move if I wanted to go with like Cade here and just say Tampa Bay outperforms what everyone is thinking. Baker comes in there. He has at least an okay season. He does good enough to get the ball to his playmakers, and his playmakers are very, very good. They approach a slightly below league average offense, and everyone is a value by ADP. That makes our Godwin, Evans, Otton, and Baker picks all work out. We gain significant value at like 4 different spots of the draft, and we crush. Because let's be honest, if like Baker's awful and Trask is awful and like they can't figure anything out, I mean, I'm going to lose this like Godwin and Evans picks. Those aren't going to be good picks, and I'll probably lose anyways. So not a bad bet. Just go with Cade, capture the touchdowns in that offense. What is your go-to draft strategy? For Underdog, I love the one that I implemented in this video. I'll pull this up here so you guys can see. Hero RB. Take that running back in the first round. Hammer wide receivers. Get quarterback if it becomes a value. Get a 10 if it becomes a value. I probably ended it a little bit earlier than I typically would just because I really like David Montgomery and I like getting him on teams. But you could have made this pick a wide receiver as well. Like if you wanted to go with, I don't know, it was Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, if you want to go with him at that pick. Gabe hasn't been someone I've really been drafting that much. But if you wanted to take him at that spot, that would be fine. But yeah, Hero RB is a good one. I don't know if I'm going to do it this week or next week. As I said, the strategy video for Underdog is every Sunday. There's a strategy. I forget the name of it, actually. But there's 2 different strategies. There's Hero RB wide receiver God mode, which is taking a wide receiver, taking a running back in the first round, and then just dominating the wide receiver position. And then there's also, it's like extreme robust wide receiver or something like that. There is an optimal build where you take 5 wide receivers, a running back, then you get quarterback and tight end in the next few rounds, and then you basically just get like a few running backs late to kind of make up for that. That works out incredibly optimal. Like in the tens of thousands of builds that I fed the model, it's like number 1 is just smoking wide receivers. So maybe we'll go over that one this week. My hope and plan is to show you guys actual drafts. The problem is it's difficult to like pull that off, right? To like always get these builds exactly on time. So I'll do my best to do actual drafts, and maybe it'll be like, oh, if I had gotten, this value, and we can like play around with things a little bit. But yeah, I've attempted it once or twice. It's very, very cool when it works out. So, Cade Otton, if not, gosh, New England. Hopefully we take Cade here, although this man has taken multiple picks from us. I still can't believe the Derek Carr pick. Reaches 5 spots ahead of ADP to get someone who wasn't on a stack when we had a beautiful stack. Because this team would be way better if we had our current team, but it was with Derek Carr instead, obviously. So that's the roster. Hurts, Baker. We're probably just relying on Hurts every week, but Mike Evans is really good. Chris Godwin's really good. Will there be a week, hopefully, where Baker has 302 touchdowns? Maybe. McCaffrey, David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara, Jalen Warren, Algier, a boatload of wide receivers that we like, and then Jawan, Michael Mayer, Cade Otton. We mixed in that rookie, a little bit of upside in the Las Vegas offense. We could have gone, actually, I didn't even think of that. We could have gone with Jimmy G. We could have just taken Garoppolo instead of Baker and then still gotten this Mayer and Jacoby stack. Because those two work out if Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback. Well, you live and you learn, right? I don't think it's like that bad. Again, the Baker one really works out if he can work out, and we got like Cade Otton there. I'll pull up this draft board so you guys can see actually I'll pull it up like this so you guys can see everything. And I'll scroll in like a minute. So look at the first 10 rounds there. See if we have any questions to answer. Don't you need another running back for bye week? No. I mean, in week 9, we're going to have 3. In week 11, we're going to have 3. No. I would worry about that if we only had 4 and like 3 of them, like if we were taking a 0. But again, we're assuming McCaffrey is filling one of those running back spots every week and that we only need like, mix in. No, we don't need another one. We have confirmations through wide receivers and the flex. Yeah, so just my lean towards Brown is just saying you can start 4 wide receivers. And so it just adds more value to wide receiver. So yeah, A.J. Brown or Robinson, I think. My lean's A.J. Brown. You pick/use Kelsey when available in this life. It does work out, but I will say, given the simulations, because the simulations assume mid-first round pick basically turns into Kelsey like the vast majority of the time, tight end in the first round doesn't really work out very optimally. Like even feeding it tight end in like first round and last round, really capitalizing on that value, not having to spend those picks at tight end, feeding it one tight end build even. Like it's just every build you feed it, it doesn't like tight end in the first round. It likes when you get better value in the middle rounds. How confident am I that Baker starts over Trask all year? 50%. Like not confident at all. But the fun thing about these underdog drafts is this is a $3 draft, right? And I do a $3 draft with you guys every single Tuesday. So I can make a bet that this happens. And if it works out, let's be honest, if Baker ends up being even okay this season, I have a significant edge in this league just given how much I went in on that position. But I've probably completed 10, 15 drafts so far, and I have a Baker stack in 2 of them. So it's you don't have to go all in. You have to just say, okay, in this draft, what is this draft playing out with? Oh, okay, it's pushing me in this direction. I guess I'll bet on that happening. Oh, it's pushing me in this other direction. Okay, let's bet on that happening, because if that ends up happening, I got it at really good value. You don't come out here and say, I'm drafting Baker in 50% of my leagues. You do take him at a roughly average rate, but on the teams you did take him, it was because you got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans at what you thought was good value. Could your custom rankings take into account that I am in a league that has 1 running back spot? Yeah, that's what they do. So you just tell it. You're like, oh, I have 1 running back and 7 starting wide receivers. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then it puts all the wide receivers in the first few rounds. It just like adjusts the value on the back end. It's not built into the website, so don't be expecting that. It's just like a Google sheet you can use, but it's set up really nicely because you can draft from it. So you put all your stuff in. You can even like boost players. You're like, oh, I actually like Darren Waller more than Nick does, and I'm very confident in that pick. You just select those 2 boxes, and it'll boost Darren Waller. So you can kind of like boost players. You can cross people off as they're drafted. You can add them to your team in a separate tab. So a lot of functionality to it. But yeah, you can do bonuses. You can say, oh, I get a bonus for 40-yard touchdowns. You can like type that in, and it'll adjust the rankings accordingly. So yes, it'll do that. Rate your team from the 101. Not your best work, but curious in your opinion. Okay. Did you get Cousins? You didn't. Okay. Wide receivers: Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Treylon Burks, Dotson, Pierce, Rondale, Downs. Totally fine with that wide receiver core. Looks like we've got, 7 wideouts. You took one, Jefferson, in the first round, so 7's still a good number. I'm not like a huge fan of Rondale, but now that Hopkins is gone, that just opens up more opportunity. So I'm totally fine with the wide receivers you took. You got Ramondre, Ken Walker, Charbonnet. So you took Walker and Charbonnet. Totally fine strategy there. Basically just saying, give me all the production from the Seattle offense if they end up being good, if both these guys produce. I mean, one of them's going to score pretty much every week. So you're just capturing that upside. Mitchell, Herbert. So you have 5. My only thing is, like, I'm not a huge fan of I think I would have preferred honestly even Mixon. Maybe Mixon over Ken Walker if you just say, Charbonnet and Mixon. I'm just not a huge fan of like the situation that Walker and Charbonnet are in. And so to take 5 running backs in a situation I don't feel comfortable with, it feels just like a little bit thin. Maybe would have gone one more there. Like I think the Purdy pick, basically. I know you took Lance and Purdy, just being like whoever works out. I think what you should do is take Lance in a league, take Purdy in a league. Like just different leagues to where you don't have to spend 2 picks on. I think one of those maybe should have been just 1 extra running back. But other than that, I mean, Jelani, Dulcich, Pat Fryer. I think optimally my lean would be do a bunch of those drafts, do a Lance and Walker, do a Walker and Purdy. Like just get different combinations because one of those is going to work out. You don't mind your 1-8 team. You'll take a 0 in week 13 from your bye. Oh, did you do the 2 tight end? 1-8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And maybe it's which one is it? Was it this one? Tight end, yeah. I've done the tight end. I've done the double tight end 3 times, I think, at this point. A few times I fixed it, but I think, did I even say in the beginning of this video, you don't always need to fix it. Just take the 0. It's totally fine. If you're taking 0 at quarterback, now you have a problem. You pretty much have to fix it. If you take, I think it's week 7 I've done before, accidentally taking 2 quarterbacks with week 7 bye, you got to fix it at that point for quarterback. But yeah, tight end, just take the 0. It's fine. How many Bengals is too many? You're at the 103. All right, so you got T, Burrow, Mixon, Boyd, Irv. In a league like this, totally fine. I believe someone did the math and it was double stacks are best. So maybe doing like once you got T, Burrow, and Mixon, cooling it, maybe even checking what they have in week 17, bring that with the run back. In a 12-team league, you don't necessarily need that upside, and you're basically just saying, I think the Bengals do really well. They score a lot of touchdowns. All these players have their weeks. I don't think there's really a limit. I mean, probably wouldn't go with more than what you did. Like I probably wouldn't want like Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Irv. Like I wouldn't want everyone because now you're probably getting smoked in their bye week. And if Burrow goes down, you're cooked. But I think what you did is fine. But if you were in like Best Ball Mania 3, you're in one of the puppies, typically double stacks are usually what you want to lean towards. Double stack and a bring back, though I'm someone who doesn't really care too much about the bring back. Are you doing another draft? That's going to be a no. 1 draft per week for these ones. Last question we'll go over, and then we'll get out of here. Thoughts on taking Henry, Mixon handcuffs, who happen to become a value? Not a fan of handcuffs in this format, but curious. Yeah. Let's see. Did the Henry team do that? I wanted to see if it worked out for them. Yeah, they took Spears at 171, although I'll say I think Spears ADP is 180, so that's not a value. Yeah, like if you took Henry at 27 and you ended up getting Spears at like 190, you're not going to win or lose your league because of that decision. I would say the most likely outcome in a league like this is that it won't matter in a tournament style, which is what all of you should be really playing. You probably don't want to, because the only way Spears works out is if you missed on your early round pick. If you missed on your early round pick, someone else drafted Spears and didn't draft Derrick Henry, and so they're way ahead of you. It can help work out like in that first round, but then you're going to go up against teams that are better than you, so you get knocked out. There is a scenario in which Henry dominates, but then gets hurt very late in the season, and so maybe Spears doesn't have as high of an advancement rate, but he's needed in the playoffs. So you don't need to just shy away from it, but my lean would be only take the handcuff if there is significant value. In a redraft league, if you want to handcuff Derrick Henry, totally fine. The later rounds don't have a super high success rate anyways. Yes, it caps your upside, but that's not necessarily super important. If you want to just do like risk aversion and be like, I don't want to lose just if my first round pick or like one of my first few round picks gets injured, I get it. Especially if you think you crushed the draft anyways and you're like, I don't even need this pick. Like, I think I did really well. You got to the Spears pick and you didn't care too much anymore. Do the handcuff. That's totally fine. So that'll do it for this week's live stream. Again, we got a strategy video tomorrow. I think all of you are going to like that, about quarterbacks. And then we'll be back next week live, 6:30 Eastern, to another one of these. That is the end of this one. Like the stream if you're still here. I'll catch you guys on the next one.